traumatic circumstances, with elderly relatives not being able to see them, with dying relatives not being able to hug. And I just think whether or not, they're going to quibble over the letter of the law, I think the spirit of the guidance has clearly been breached. But we need to hear from Mr. Hancock. He needs to say something, because at the moment, appearing as if he's going to try and brazen this out, will probably annoy people more, I think.
Yes, so you say we need to hear from him. Do you think we're going to hear anything from Boris Johnson on all of this? And ultimately, Harry, how serious do you think this could be for Matt Hancock for his role as Health Secretary?
Look, Matt Hancock's had an astonishing year. He's been at the front line of this pandemic, but he's had a really torrid last few weeks, where his handling of the pandemic and his running of his department have really come under scrutiny. Dominic Cummings, the former number 10 aide, launched an astonishing 6-hour tirade, essentially, against Mr. Hancock, saying he should have been sacked on multiple occasions. He's dishonest. His handling of the care home testing crisis at the beginning of the pandemic was a disaster. PPE contracts he promised have failed to materialise. And of course, this is not the first time that Mr. Hancock has been accused of having a slightly unusual approach to public procurement and public money. Who can forget the infamous bartender at his local pub who managed to get a COVID testing contract despite having no previous experience in the field? So I think it's more of it's coming on top of a long list of allegations about Mr. Hancock's, grip on his department and his ministerial career. And I think they couldn't have come at a more unhelpful time for him, as questions arise whether there'll be a reshuffle and whether it is time for a new health secretary. But on the Boris Johnson point, he does tend to stick to ministers when they're under fire. If you look back and think about Priti Patel and the bullying allegations, he stood firmly by her. And Robert Jenrick, when he was up to his neck in quite a murky planning row involving Tory donors and lavish balls and skyscrapers, he also was able to sort of tough out the crisis that would have perhaps toppled ministers in previous administrations. So, as it stands, it feels like there's an ominous silence from number 10. But for Hancock at the moment, I think silence is probably good news. But I do think we need to see the Health Secretary today, and there's a long list of questions he needs to answer.
Harry, thank you very much for that. Harry Cole, political editor of The Sun newspaper. And in fact, we are hearing that organisers at a vaccination centre in Suffolk have confirmed to the media that the Health Secretary will no longer be attending the site today. He was supposed to be there. The event, which was scheduled as part of a constituency visit, was cancelled early this morning, we're told. And we have approached the Department of Health and Matt Hancock's office for comment. But as yet, we've had no response to that.